Hey guys, I'm Abby with Motor City Nerds. Hi to all new subscribers. Please subscribe. It really helps me out. We're on our way to 2,000. I'm on OnlyF, I'm on TikTok, I'm on all this stuff. It's down below. But I am truly enjoying Dead City. I really am. But let's just talk about, literally, off rip, the most preposterous, one of, keyword here, one of the most preposterous things, the most preposterous thing in this show, but one of the most preposterous things I've seen in the entire Walking Dead universe. And that is a adolescent girl using a cooler like a canoe. That was absurd. If you've only ever kayaked, like I did before I tried this endeavor, it is very different from a canoe. Yeah, when I tried to get in a canoe thinking I have this down, I just spun in a circle. And that was an actual boat, not a cooler on the Hudson. So that was insane. And at first I was like, okay, well, they made a point to say, this show is doing a good job of actually establishing things and then getting to the point and not dilly-dallying. But they said, if you pulled up on a boat, he already got to that. Crow had already got to that. He already got rid of it. So we established that from the people living in New York. And then I thought, this girl, she'll be their savior. She's going to show up with a vessel to get them off the island. But then I'm like, oh no, she's rowing in a goddamn cooler. That is absurd. But anyway, we got the cooler boat, and she's just going with a you don't even have a real oar. Like, that would be insane to do. You'd be screwed. You're better off trying to swim. I get it. But now Croat will not see this boat there, so they won't know somebody's on the island. So I like that, and I see what you did there. This episode kind of was slow. There was kind of a lot of exposition and dialogue going on, which I didn't mind. And like I said, I think this is doing a good job of balancing and not just doing... I swear to God, The Walking Dead for like 2 seasons, they just walked around. And I'm like, literally, it was the walking around. And I'm just like, okay, at least we're not doing that. We have some really good back and forth between Maggie and that one dude whose name I don't know who lives in New York about having kids. I really like that. I think Hershel's a little snake. I know we haven't got to know him very well. I think Hershel's a little snake. I think he's going to flip sides and it's going to devastate Maggie. I think that he's going to be like, or at least seduced by, kind of like Carl and Negan were, but worse. And I think he's going to flip sides. And I've been saying this from the beginning. They would not treat a hostage of his rank that bad because, well, this guy's like a sadistic crazy, so maybe he would. But the truth is, you would want to keep somebody. It's like Ned Stark having Theon and keeping him like a part of the family. I think Ned was a good guy. There's a whole other argument. But what I'm saying is the reason they took Theon was because their dad started a rebellion. All his other sons passed away. Theon didn't. So to keep him in check, they kept Theon. And were like, if you pop off, we're going to off him. So you'd probably want Hershel to be okay. You might not treat him like he's Theon, like Ned does with Theon, but you would want him to be at least comfortable and okay because you want to keep Maggie in line. You want to be able to go, remember, we got him. And like I said, you're still in a cell, you're still treated badly, but I don't think you'd be torturing him and things like that. So I think that it's going to go full, I'm brainwashing you and love bombing you, and for lack of a better term, and this guy's going to have, Hershel's going to flip. I really, truly believe that. But I did like Maggie talking with that guy, and then we have the scene with the humming, and then cutting over to Croat and his people. My mom, first, I was dozing off, so I had to watch it again. For some reason, my schedule's all messed up. I'm super sick. Is anybody else, like, that's being affected by this Canada smoke? And I'm really sorry what's going on in Canada. My chest and stuff has hurt for, like, the last week. And I don't know if I'm sick, if it's my allergies, or if it's a combination of all those things. So I'm sorry that everything's tardy, and I'm sorry that I sound like crap. It's bad. I'm hurting. Dozing towards the end of this episode, and then I rewatched it the next day, and my mom out of the kitchen just goes, we have like a window that sees through our kitchen into our living room or our TV room. She just goes, yeah, I had no idea what the hell was going on here. And so I'm watching it, and I was like, oh, they're showing the juxtaposition of how these people are, and it's almost like a prayer that they're saying before they eat. It's like a camaraderie thing, and it kind of gave like Last Supper vibes, where like we know we're going to do this scary plan that's probably suicidal, so we should be with each other. And then we cut over to Croat and his people being like, oh yeah, gladiator fighting and gross and loss of life, and we don't care. So we see how they're different. And I did like that. And once I said that to Mom, she's like, okay, but I do think that went on for a little bit too long in Walking Dead. That was your problem before. Don't do that. Don't do that. I liked it. It was fine. I see what you're doing. Cut it by 30 seconds. But I didn't mind it. I didn't hate it. It was just funny when Mom was like, yeah, I didn't know what the hell was going on here. The other thing I really, really liked about this episode is that it was called People Are a Resource. Now, who used to say that? Negan used to say that. But it's different with Croat. With Croat, we have him using the dead. And I can respect this. Like I said, I want crazy stuff. I want this in my Walking Dead. But I was like, whoa, okay then. And they're using methane as a power source. Now, methane comes out of your body when you die, right? That's like the gases that fill you up, right? That's like toxic and bad. Well, it's one of them, I think. So Croat is literally using people as a power source, as a resource. Negan used them as a people source, you know what I mean? As an army, as a military, as workers, as whatever. Like, he actually gave people jobs. That's the difference here. This one's sadistic and crazy and burning bodies and hurting them to run a city. Negan didn't do that, but he put them into jobs and where they were needed at. And so it's a resource, but in two different ways. Really loved them titling it that. I liked that a lot. Was a deer in this episode? How'd that deer get on that island? I want to know. How'd the deer get on the island? And it's been like decades, I guess. But I'm just like, it's an island. Every way's been blown up. How do we have deer running around? I can hear my behemoth dog breathing outside the door. Hobart, are you coming in? Got sidetracked on the deer. Methane. Yeah. The Croat using the dead, I don't know if it's zombies or just people he's offing, as a power source. I like that they're not shoving too much buzzsaw heads at us at once. I'm really starting to feel for this black guy. I don't remember his name, but like I said, I think he's going to join our little band of merry heroes. He's going to join the crew. I'm assuming that Negan will get offed, and we'll get to that and talking about that, and this guy will take kind of his spot with Maggie to get back, maybe. And I'm also thinking that Luther, that big black dude who gets offed by Negan, I think that he is somehow related or knew the Marshal. And I'm really feeling for him. He's getting locked up by Croat. Ew, I did not like the maggot meat. That was making me sick. But I think that you guys have reiterated enough that this guy's a psychopath. I don't need to keep seeing him do I guess it does, but I felt at some points it was getting a little gratuitous, but only in this episode. But I didn't hate it. And he's got the maggot meat, and he's accusing him of it's kind of like Joffrey, you know what I mean? Like, oh, you tried to do this. Well, he does get poisoned, but like, you tried to poison me, and you do this, and you did that, so I need a food tester, and it's like, Croat takes it that way, but I think it was more of just, I'm looking for any reason to show this guy chained up, I do what I want. Watch me do what I want. I'm crazy. I'm nuts. And it allows that character to see that in person. So it's not just hearing about it, it's seeing it now. And so it's like, ooh, rough. Now we have the cage fight happening. At first, when they were huffing through it, before we realized it was methane, I don't know if they said it before, or I was dozing and then I watched it again, so maybe I missed this a little bit, but when they're huffing through the gas masks and doing that, I didn't know it was methane yet, but I was like, are they doing nitrous? Are we having a tank party in the middle of this fight? Because that's rough. Don't make me huff nitrous and then go in, but then I'm like, oh god, it's methane. I think that's not as fun. But those people were doing it for kicks. They were like, but then again, people like huff paint and stuff. So I don't know. I don't know. Whatever floats your boat. Just be safe. Don't do that. Don't huff paint. That's just, what am I saying? That's so. I knew boys that used to like huff gas. I'm like, spend $10. Go get a dime bag. Stop this nonsense. You're crazy. Or the people that would eat Benadryl. That was also crazy. But that's a whole other thing. Anyway, enough about my high school days with those lunatics. They make the Marshal huff a bunch of methane, put him in the cage, let the walkers in, and then you can see that everything's a little off. Everything's moving, and he can't really get things down right at first. And then he's being tested by Croat, essentially, who's like, oh yeah, let's see what you're made of. And then we have a saw thing where he's got to dig in the belly and get the key, and he survives. So then it's like I was saying with Hershel. I think he's going to try to do this with that guy and be like, oh, look, I put you in this dangerous situation, just like with Hershel. I put you in this torture situation. But then once you proved yourself, now you're my number one guy. You're the best. And have him right at his right hand. And I'm thinking this Marshal's pretty stuck in his ways. So he might play it off, but I don't think he'll flip sides. I think Hershel might. But we haven't gotten to know that character very much. But for some reason, I do feel that way. We have Negan in this like kitchen area off away from the group. And Luther shows up, and we see Negan still Negan, don't mess with me. But he kind of had to, because that Luther was coming at him. He was like, you're a threat, I'm coming for you. And Negan's like, I don't care, let's duke it out. But I did like that it wasn't exactly Negan killing him. It kind of was a scuffle, and then he fell and hit his head. But Negan was like, I gotta do what I gotta do, and I'm just gonna move this along faster. He still offed him. What am I saying? But you know what it wasn't like a bad guy, I'm coming at you and offing you type deal. It was a slight accident, but hey, it's me or you, buddy. Yeah, and he was coming at Negan sideways, so I don't care. We love Negan. Go Negan. But I do not think that Maggie and Negan will make it out of this show. I don't. Now, maybe maybe Hershel does flip, and Maggie totally loses it, and she passes. Maybe, like I've been saying, it's going to be Negan now, and then Maggie will have to raise that girl instead of Hershel. In my opinion, maybe, or both of them, but she's gonna have to raise her as a pseudo-mom because her pseudo-dad, Negan, is gone now. But I could also see them having Negan live because this little girl already lost one dad. Real bad feeling that something's gonna happen to Negan, and it's not gonna be good for him by the end. But it would just make sense for the story. It would make sense. Like, Glenn got offed by you, now you're helping Maggie, and in that endeavor, you give your life. So it just would bring the character all the way home when it comes to like fundamental arc of a character. I don't want him to die. I love Negan. I do not want Negan to die, but I'm just saying it works. Nobody really raised the alarm about that guy dying either, but I feel like that Luther was a hefty part of your crew, so that was a little odd, but I'm sure it'll come back up. But yeah, that one I was like, nobody's like looking for Luther. Like, geez, man, you guys are a pretty small group. I think I'd be like, if it was me and my friends, I'd be like, where'd Jason go? He's been gone for 20 minutes. This is weird. You know what I'm saying? Like, when you got your boys, you're like, or your girl, you're like, man, where's Amy at? Where's Nicole at? That's weird. They've been gone for more than 7 minutes. They never do that shit. And I'm sure it'll come back around. We have the scavenger lady of the group showing up, and Maggie is the one who's like, no, I know a little girl who likes that. So now we know, hey, she's here. And we see her hiding from that scavenger, and we see her like, oh snap, I dropped my stuff. And I like that girl, and I like that she doesn't talk, and she's doing a great job. That's hard to do, is to act with no dialogue. Give her a lot of credit. She's doing a good job. Plus, she's a kid, so I'm going to hype up a kid doing a good job. I don't understand that when people are like, meh, they're terrible. And I'm like, especially in anything. And then I'm like, it's a kid. It's a kid. Like, why don't you chill, bud? But she's doing a good job. I like all the flashbacks with her and Negan. I felt like they emotionally hit. We weren't dilly-dallying in them. We got to the point. But I do think they're trying to make Negan a little Rick-ish with his silhouette. And I'm like, don't do that. I want him to get a baseball bat by the end. If he does not get an object, like a blunt object by the end, what are we here for? So the girl's on the island. Scavenger found her stuff. Maggie kind of knows she's there, but Negan doesn't know yet. Then we see Maggie burning that piece of paper, and I'm assuming that was Glenn's picture, and that's her way of letting go finally. Maybe not letting go, but saying like, we all kind of did what we had to, and I might not be totally okay, but he would want me to not hold on to this grudge and to be better. So I think that's what was going on there. I'm thinking maybe this little girl is going to see Negan go full Negan and be like, I've never seen this part of you. And it's going to freak her out maybe a little bit, but I think eventually she'll be cool with it. I'm just saying, like, when I watched Lost, I was like, I'd be running around with John Locke. My mom would probably be encouraging it if I was a kid, because when that came out, I was like in high school, and we watched it together, and she was like, I would want you to hang out with John Locke. So when what was it? Michael was like, my kid, don't hang out with John Locke. It's like, he's the most useful one here. He actually knows what he's doing. I'd want my kid to hang out with him, but it's like Negan, he might be ruthless, but he's keeping you safe. So if I saw him go nuts, it might be jarring, but I wouldn't be too upset. I'd be like, well, you got me here and you kept me here, so we're going to go with that. And doesn't Negan see her burning the picture? Negan sees her burn the piece of paper, and I think that he knows, like, okay, we might be semi better than we were before, but we have this mission they're going on to get into the fighting arena, and it's essentially a suicide mission, and they're all kind of stressing. Well, they're all kind of stressing it. They're all really stressing it. But yeah, finding out that it's methane means it's explosive, right? And then in the preview for next week, we see the candle on the barrel, and I'm like, if they pull, I won't hate this, but if you guys pull a Cersei Lannister, like the Septa Baelor, I'm going to be semi-disappointed. Like, I get it, but if it's the same, if it's beat for beat the same thing, I'm going to be like, come on, don't do that. Because we already have, like, cage fighting, which is like Land of the Dead. But I do like all these concepts. I don't want it to seem like I'm hating on it. I'm just like, that's an iconic scene. That's iconic. When the Light of the Seven music kicks in and Cersei blows up the Sept, we all know that scene. I feel like people that didn't even watch Game of Thrones know that scene, and we have the candle burning down, so I really hope they don't do that directly. But yeah, this is a short one, but I don't think Negan's going to make it out of this alive. I think he's going to take down Croat for sure, but I don't think he's going to make it home alive or the same. Let's put it that way. But maybe it'll be Maggie. I don't think both of them will make it. I think that this Croat is going to try and take Hershel and this Marshall guy under his wing and make them be like, oh, I'm your buddy. And I think Hershel might fall for it, and it'll devastate Maggie. And this Marshall's too stuck in his ways, where he might play pretend, but he's never going to fully go on that guy's side. I think he's going to end up joining our group. That's what I think. But I'm really enjoying Dead City. I'm enjoying it much more than I did a couple of seasons of The Walking Dead, but that also goes to show you how charismatic these characters are. I really like them. And somebody on TikTok was saying that Maggie's storyline is arguably, like, the most pointless and didn't have to be there. I could say that, and I'm not hating on that person's comment. I like when people have differing opinions and say stuff like that, because then it makes me think. But I think I could say that about, like, 50% of the people on Walking Dead. You know what I mean? Like, I think that I could cut out a lot of people and go, and I like Maggie, so I don't feel that way. And I'm like, she kind of moves it forward from the farm. She kind of moves it forward from Glenn and stuff. Her coming into power, I thought, was a little odd, but it made sense for the character if you think about it. But it did kind of feel like, hey, we have her, and she's prominent, and people like her, so why don't we just make her in charge of Hilltop type thing? And I don't hate it, but I can see where people are like, meh, she's blah, but we're here for the Negan. Like, we're here for the Negan, right? And do you want to know what's a funny total side thing? Is that, you guys remember how much, we loved Watchmen. I was in, What grade would I have been? In 10th grade when Watchmen, the movie, came out, and he plays the comedian, and he's great as the comedian. Now, it has its flaws. It's no series on HBO, that's great. But that's a perfect season of television. But I saw a comment underneath, like, a clip of it the other day that said, people didn't think this movie was good. People don't like this. And I'm realizing this older generation's coming up, and I was like, oh my God, I'm so happy for you that you like enjoy The Walking Dead and love Jeffrey Dean Morgan. And now you get to see him as the comedian for the first time, and you don't have all these reviewers and all these critics and all these people telling you like, this is trash, because we loved Watchmen. We loved it. And then it was like, oh no. And then we read it, and like, like we were getting older and coming into our own and reading that stuff and being obsessed with it. So this definitely has its issues as a movie, but it's not terrible. It's actually pretty good. I just rewatched it the other day. I'd give it like a 6.5 or a 7 out of 10, but when it came out, people hated it. Critics hated it. Everybody's like, this is trash, this is garbage. I remember me and my friends were like, we really like it. We're really big fans. Yeah, it's Jeffrey Dean Morgan does such a good job as this character. He really does. He really does so good as Negan, and that charisma just comes out of him, and I love it, and I'm really enjoying this a lot, so I don't want it to come off like I'm not. Mom's main man is Daryl, though. She loves Daryl. And I got her like a poster a few years ago, knowing she wouldn't hang it up, but she has it still. And I'm like, oh my God, you are so funny. So we're really excited for the Daryl show. The one thing I'm confused about is, I don't know if there's comics to this. My best friend read all of The Walking Dead. But when it comes to this stuff, I don't know if there's comics and stuff, And so I knew the big players and I knew the big beats from her, but I don't know with this stuff. So if there is a comic, let me know. But with Daryl, I'm like, of all the characters, why the hell would you put him in Europe? You know what I mean? Like, you're going to put him in Europe? I'm sorry. I think it's going to be jarring, but it's probably going to be kind of funny for that. Like a fish out of water type thing, plus apocalypse. I'm not hating on it being it's France, right? I'm not hating on it being in France, but I'm just a little like, of all the characters, that's the one you put there? Oh, okay, let's see how it goes. And we're really excited for it. And Mom's really excited for it. But you guys, I'll tell you what I really miss. I really miss Interview with the Vampire. I really miss that so much. And I can't even think about Succession without getting upset, because I'm like, God, it makes me sad. But I'm Abby with Motor City Nerds. Make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe. It really helps me out a lot. Even if you just leave an emoji in the comments or tell me you hated it, tell me you hate me, whatever. It just really, really helps me out a lot, because the algorithm sucks. And I'm realizing that more and more. I'm like, no, that really is true, isn't it? Like, unless you are owned by somebody big or something, you don't get pushed out as much. It doesn't matter if you follow the rules or not.